Algebra Half, Lesson 28 is called Improper Fractions, Mixed Numbers, and even Decimal Numbers. I'll let you choose what all you want to write into your notes today. Some valuable skills to make sure we know how to do, and that we can keep these terms I just listed straight too. Fractions are, I think you have this in your notes, definition, a part of a whole. So this, let's pretend, is a whole pie. And a fraction would show a part of a whole. Let's say the red denotes, actually we could do this, cool, we can do it like this. The red denotes two parts of the whole shaded, and these are, let's pretend, equal. So denominator is 3 because there's 3 total, and the 2 that are shaded are our numerator. So what's shaded is 2/3. Okay, this would be a whole. This is a part of a whole, 2/3, 1/3, right? And back to empty. Those are proper fractions. A proper fraction should be written such that the numerator, which is counting how many are shaded, is not as big or bigger than the denominator, which shows us total number of pieces. If it's 3/3, that's improper because that's really just a whole number, 1. That's all of them. And if it's bigger than the top, well, we'll talk about that in a moment. So a proper fraction is where the numerator, counting the shaded pieces, is smaller than the denominator, the total pieces. Improper fraction, right here, is where the top is bigger than the bottom. We're counting more shaded pieces than there are total pieces in each whole. And maybe you already know this, 10/3, if it's improper, is really denoting not a part of a whole, but several wholes, and then a remainder if it's not perfectly even. So if we had a third there, into thirds here, make sure it gets the edges, thirds here, and thirds here. Okay, 10/3, I have to count them up now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10/3, right? So it's not just a part of a whole, it's 3 wholes and then 1/3 left over. How could I do that without pictures, or maybe with bigger numbers that we can't just draw them all out? Simply take 10 as your dividend to convert improper to mixed number, and use your denominator as your divisor. 10 divided by 3, I should say, 3 into 10, fits 3 times with 1 left over, and we use a fraction, not a remainder, to show the rest. You take your remainder and put it over the divisor, like we learned. So now we have 3 and 1/3, which is called a mixed number. Why mixed? Because it's mixed between whole and parts of a whole numbers, all shown in one expression. And that makes sense. 1, 2, 3 wholes and a third left over, total shaded. That is a mixed number, a number that has both a whole number part and a fractional part. 3 and 1/3 really means 3 plus 1/3. So those are fused together. We can't just get rid of them unless we're going to subtract off the third. We can't separate them easily. To change an improper fraction to a mixed number, now we get to, well, we already did that. But how about the other way around? How about from mixed number back to improper? We have to do that too, and we've learned it before. Let's show that in green. If I have my mixed number 3 1/3, if I want to get back to 10/3, I multiply denominator by whole number, and then take that total, which is 9, add it to the numerator, which was 1, so 10 over the original denominator of 1/3. Back to improper fraction. So in your notes, to remember how to do this, you could show an example. Let's just make it nice and simple, 1 1/2, and then maybe with a different color pen, show your arrows that show the direction that we do this in. And then this is multiply, this is add. We don't want to get those mixed up. So 2 times 1 is 1, plus 1 is 3, and maybe you could show the final improper fraction total. So let's say they gave us 32 1/5. Can we handle big numbers? Well, the numerator on the extra part is so small that it'll be easier. 5 times 32 is 160, I think. Because 30 times 5 would be 15 and a 0, 150. And then 5 times 2 is add 10. So 160. Add the 1, 161 over 5. Now we can count. We have 161 fifths. And that can be useful for certain situations. What if we want to do a mixed number to a decimal? Now instead of what we were just doing, take your 32 and 1/5. 32 goes to the left of the decimal, and the fifth is the part that goes to the right. And this is where the decimal is in between these. You might want to write this in your notes too. From mixed number to decimal, we go 32. That part's easy. Now, the part of the whole goes on the right of the decimal. And how do I show 1/5? Well, we convert a fraction to a decimal. And 1 divided by 5 on a calculator comes out to 2/10. Or we could get it so it's a multiple of 10 and realize that this will be 2/10. Two ways to do it. You can do it on your calculator, or you can convert the denominator into a multiple of 10. So we get 2/10. Our final answer, 32.2. And what about decimal back to mixed number? This is the easiest one. If I want to go from this decimal back to the mixed number, you just say it out loud. 32 and 2/10. 32 and 2/10. That's why we learned how to say these properly. Now you just say them out loud, and your fraction's all done for you. And then you reduce 2/10 to 1/5, and you're back to where we were. Okay, so we've learned, to review, all kinds of things. We learned proper versus improper fraction, and even what a mixed number is and why, because we saw the demonstration. We converted improper to a mixed number by dividing the numerator by its denominator and putting the remainder over the divisor as the fractional part of the mixed number. We went from mixed number back to improper fraction by multiplying denominator by whole number and then adding the numerator. And we even did decimal practice, mixed number to decimal, 3 1/8 being 3 and 1 divided by 8 is 125.125. So you divide the numerator by the denominator to find the right of the decimal section. And we even did decimals back to mixed numbers. So we did all those different conversions. 3 and 125 thousandths, 3 and 125 thousandths still needs to be reduced. So there you have it. Let's do all the practice problems because these are so important. Use the book to go back to remember how to do all of these, and make sure your notes are properly filled in. Thank you.